Take a look at the reading 7 review questions. First Machiavelli reading. Number 1, this book is presumably advice for a prince. What does prince mean to Machiavelli? As I said in the video on this reading, a prince is, etymologically, prince means, the first man, really. Somebody who by some means or another is in control of a whole state, of a whole nation. I think the important thing is not the son of a king, prince, although they could be, I guess. And definitely not a president or a prime minister or somebody who holds an office in something like a republic. A prince is somebody who has more or less, I guess in different situations it would differ, but more or less absolute power. So a prince is somebody who, I think the important thing is a prince is somebody who has to look over their shoulder, because somebody will be maybe looking to dislodge them. But a prince is a ruler over a community, and certainly not a ruler as a constitutional president or prime minister. And if he's giving him advice, what kind of advice is it? Well, that's a difficult question. It's easy enough to say about Machiavelli, oh, he's immoral, he doesn't care about morality, but he certainly does to a certain extent. But his overriding concern is to be a realist, and that he is not talking about what would be the best form of government, what would be the best state, the most just state. And these were the kind of concerns of thinkers, especially like Plato in his Republic, or maybe even Dante in De Monarchia. I would say that the advice is meant to be practical advice. It's meant to be advice about power and about how human beings really are, as we see, and what you need to know about human beings to be a successful ruler. And that truth is oftentimes not something that's very pleasant, but has to be acknowledged in order for you to succeed. Number 2, Machiavelli advises the prince that when acquiring new states, the best policy is to send colonists there. Why? Well, he gives several answers to that. It's cheaper than sending an army. You won't alienate as many people, and it won't cost you anything. It's easier than having to move there yourself, so you can handle problems on the ground. You have your own people there. It's what the British did in Ireland, right? The English did in Ireland. It's what they did in America. It's the model. You give people land, and they are loyal to you, and you can impose your rule there. No one is saying that that's good, that that's just. Machiavelli is just saying it's effective. And it's effective, he says, and he's thinking in Europe. It's not like sending colonists to America where the population is fairly thinly spread, although, of course, Native Americans were dispossessed and murdered and everything else. But Europe is not, it's very tightly, very densely populated, even in Machiavelli's time, surely. So to give your colonists land, people have to be dispossessed. They have to be expropriated. They might be kicked off their land. And, it's just the reality of it. If you're going to send colonists to a place where there's all the land is occupied, but Machiavelli doesn't worry about that, Those people will be poor and scattered, and you've crushed them. And that's the general rule, that is. You shouldn't, I don't think Machiavelli would ever say you should go around hurting people for its own sake. He would never say something like that. He was not a person who thought like that. He was not an inherently cruel person. But what he did say very clearly is that if you have to hurt somebody, then hurt them real bad. Don't hurt them a little bit so that they can recover and take their revenge on you. You got to crush them. And if you send colonists, you hurt really bad a few people instead of hurting a little bit, a lot of people. So it's a better policy. I mean, again, Machiavelli is he's almost a symbol of political realism, and also of just, being willing to do things that are immoral for effective political reasons. But there's always another side, I think, to Machiavelli. He often says that, that in the long run, at least, these hurts that you do to people are good in the long run for everybody. I don't know if that justifies them, but in any case, we're definitely into a different thing with Machiavelli, and I guess we all have to make up our own minds about him.